And good morning. Good morning. I guess it's good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk Recovery Radio. You're listening to Talk Recovery. We're having just a little problem here with our social media sharing screen. I'm not too sure if we're actually on Facebook Live right now. So I'm just going to hit record just to make sure that we got a recording of the show. So yeah, hey Darren, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Hey, man of multitasking talents here.
Multitasking, we just got an unrecoverable error coming out of Zoom, which broadcasts us live on Facebook, and then we go on to the radio. So, oh nope, looks like we're live. I just checked. So sorry for the little hiccup this beginning of the show, but that's what happens when you do live shows.
Always. But hey, I'm Darren Gaylor. You're Giuseppe Ganci, and this is Talk Recovery Radio.
Yeah. Powered by New West Recovery. Unfortunate news today. If you're following Twitter or anything, and you're part of the community here, especially in the west coast of BC, because thanks to all our listeners all over the place, the poor individual got hit by a car last night in the middle of the night, and there's just this rumbling of insanity online right now. A police officer hit somebody who was obviously under the influence, just standing still, hunched over in the middle of the road. For those of you that drive down the downtown east side, like Hastings is a dangerous street. There's a lot of people that just cart in front of you and moving on. So I don't know how I feel about the whole thing. Like, was it an accident? Was it done? People are saying the cop did it on purpose. It's really complicated. And I hope that. I don't know, Darren. Like, what are you doing in the middle of the road? And there is a speed limit of 30 kilometers an hour, and
accidents happen. I mean, what are people doing in the middle of the road? I don't even think it's about that. I mean, that's a lot of people are in the road down on Hastings. I mean, if people want to jump to the conclusion that it was like an RCMP or Vancouver police or whatever that noticed the person, saw them in the middle of the street, and just kept their foot on the gas, I mean, that's just taking it to a whole nother level. Is it possible? Sure, but I mean, I don't know. My mind always goes to let's hope it's an accident, and things will work itself out. I mean, my wife was driving home the other night up Hastings, and I was on the phone with her. She was on hands-free, but guy in front of me just hit somebody. That's what she said on the phone. I'm like, well, do you have to stop? Do you have to get out? It was Main and Hastings, right? And I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't expect people on Main and Hastings under the influence to abide by, the crosswalk rules and the lights and all of that. I mean, it's sort of the norm. I mean, I've heard that insurance doesn't even cover pedestrian accidents on that strip because of how common it is.
I don't know if that's true or what it is. Yeah.
So I don't know. I hope the person's okay and yeah.
Our thoughts and our hopes for better health. How do I word this? It's like we hope he's okay from the accident. But why aren't we hoping he's okay from the drug use? You know what I mean? Whatever got him to be standing in the middle of the road, in the first place. You know what I mean? It's all of a sudden we care about his health, now that he's been hit by a car and there's a Twitter hashtag you can add and defund the police, all of a sudden this person's health has become a priority for every British Columbian. But, yesterday is just he's just a drug addict. That's the way he's going to live. He's going to live his life, using drugs and, there's something there. And, I wish I was more eloquent in the way of saying it, but it's just no one gave a shit about this guy yesterday. Whose life obviously is probably not doing so good, where you end up being a person that stands still, passed out in the middle of the road. But now today, everybody all of a sudden cares about him. So do they care about him or do they care about the cause and their, Twitter handles and how much reach they're going to get? It's a really sick world out there. Let me tell you, it's just really, really sick. I mean, some people on Twitter have just, really,
I didn't even hear about it.
Well, I follow Twitter, so
You're in the loop for sure.
yeah, it's kind of like Netflix, you know. Oh God, oh God, oh God, you know. Oh God, it's always the same characters too. It's just like, oh God. Anyway, you're listening to Talk Recovery Radio. Of course, you know, like I hope the person does well, and I hope this is you know, what we call in the recovery community a bottom. I don't believe bottoms get you clean or sober. Like I believe you get clean and sober by hope, not by bottoms. But I hope this is an opportunity. The person ends up, you know, getting some coin. And I hope he finds a way to not ever ending up being in that situation. I don't think this is an opportunity to defend the police. I'll say that. I think it's an opportunity for all of us to really learn what's going on down there. And, you know, I'll take another 24 and pass it on with that. So we get to talk recovery with amazing people from across the world. And today's a really interesting topic. And you know, multi-level interesting because it's going to talk about NFT and it's going to talk about addiction and recovery and all that. And I don't know really what NFT is, but if you like what you're listening to us and you're watching us on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you like what you're listening to in the restream, click follow and like and share. You know, 8 years of shows, thousands of listeners and hundreds of guests. So Darren, who do we get to talk recovery with today?
Yeah, we get to talk recovery with Samir Baksh. He is the director of marketing for Fayyr. This is a company created to support charities, nonprofit organizations, and humanitarian causes through NFT fundraisers, with a vision to empower global participation in supporting social good using emerging blockchain technology. Welcome to the show, Samir.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on here. It's a pleasure to be here and
Yeah,
hopefully to, get some conversation going. Excited.
well, I mean, I'm not in the know of blockchain technology. I mean, NFTs. I mean, I could sort of explain it in some way, shape, or form, but probably not as good as you. But you know, for listeners and even myself, like, what is the blockchain technology and how is Fayyr, you know, why was it created to sort of pursue this?
Yeah, for sure. So in simple terms, a blockchain technology is sort of a network of computers where information is stored on the blockchain. So an NFT itself stands for a non-fungible token, which is enough to scare anybody away in its own. But simply put, an NFT is basically a digital asset that is stored on the blockchain. So an NFT could be an audio clip, it could be an image, a piece of art, a gift, anything that can be digitalized can be an NFT. So the simple way to explain this is that an NFT cannot be replicated, similarly to how the Mona Lisa exists in Paris and cannot be replicated. People can try to replicate it, but there's only one Mona Lisa. The same way, if you put something on the blockchain, it can be replicated. There is a digital traceable receipt that this NFT is stored on the blockchain, and the owner of, who owns this NFT or this digital asset. And yeah, that's the simplest way to put it, basically. It can't be replicated. It's stored on the blockchain. It's there for good, and everybody knows who owns this asset.
That's, I mean, it's a great way of like, there's people that are really involved in this, right? I mean, the NFTs have hit huge, dollar amounts or crypto amounts or however they're paying for it. Like, they're worth quite a bit. I mean, obviously there's a reputation of the artist. Is that correct? Like,
yep.
Or is there an anonymous, like, can you put art on there anonymously where it's just a number, or would you even consider doing that? Like,
yeah, so there's both ways of going about that. So, some of the bigger things that we've seen in the past couple of years with NFTs are the collections itself. So it's a collection of artworks, a set number, maybe 9,000, 10,000 pieces of art that is created by a sort of brand as opposed to one artist. They release this collection, and people want to get in on it. It's like it's a trending topic. It's trending art. They want a piece of this 9,000 collection, for themselves. on the other hand, there are artists out there, very famous NFT artists that release, one of one works, that there's only one in existence. They release a collection of 10, a collection of 20, and they've made a name for themselves similarly to, the real world and actual art or digital art.
So like you say, actual art and digital art. So let's
Yep.
talk a little bit of a difference. Like somebody who's, who appreciates art, is kind of, trying to bring themselves up to date in these technologies, and, is sort of on the fence, going from like actually having something to hang on their wall to something that's stored in a file on their computer. Like how can you, what would you say to that person as far as, making it like more comfortable or more inviting to pursue NFTs?
Yeah, for sure. I should rephrase and say physical art is probably the best way to describe that. But,
Right.
for somebody that is, wondering about the transition of art through the ages, we've evolved as a society into what we can do, our capabilities, the tools that we have to make art. 500-600 years ago when the Mona Lisa was painted, we had tools accessible to us such as paintbrushes, and we had the cognitive ability to physically look at another human being and be able to replicate that on a piece of paper. Now, in this digital age that we're living in, we have iPads, the iPen, we have Illustrator, Photoshop, we have all these means of digital creation available at our disposal. And as we move to a more digital age, these days everything is moving towards, online, digital record keeping. We can see art transitioning to that too. There's not really much difference between a digital artist and somebody who wants to make an NFT. It is essentially a digital piece of artwork that is, uploaded. The only difference is it's actually stored on the blockchain now. So it's basically like taking your canvas and hanging it up on a wall in an art gallery, on display for everyone to see. That's really the only difference that it is. And, as we move more into this crypto space and more into the sort of Web3 era is what, people in the crypto space like to call it. We can see the emergence of people moving towards this sort of NFT to, have accountability, traceable receipting of, who purchases their artwork, and something a little more set in stone as opposed to, counterfeits or any of the other problems faced with physical art or just digital art online.
And it's
Right.
very interesting. Like my friend Sarah has, one of those TVs that can go on a mode where you put art on it. And I swear I've been to her house like so many times, and sometimes I look, I'm like, is that a new painting? Like, cause I forget it's a TV because just the way it looks, right? So the reason why we're talking about NFT on Talk Recovery today is because, whenever there's an opportunity, many addiction services, including Last Door, which is behind this radio show, nonprofit charities have to do fundraising. So we're now learning about, being able to use the NFT world as a fundraiser. So we'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. I just want to get really down to the basics then. So just for like the NFT, thanks for the explanation. I think you've done a great job. But still, I got a little bit more to ask, just for the technical piece before we get into like why are we talking about NFTs on Talk Recovery Radio. So so there's a store online, and we have a store online now that we'll share later, where you can look at art that is considered an NFT. So it's so the store has it, and so nothing's really stopping me from copying the picture, but it's more of having the ability to say, I own that picture, and this is my digital receipt that I own this picture. So that's where the value is at. Is that what we're getting at?
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
much the value of
Yeah.
owning an
So
NFT.
I own it.
Exactly.
Okay.
You own it, and everyone knows
Yeah.
that you own it since it is stored on,
Yeah.
a multi-chain network. So
Because anybody can own a copy of the Mona Lisa, but
of course,
the real Mona Lisa is where the
there's only
value is
one.
at. So because I remember when we were talking about this. Well, it's a computer; anybody can copy a picture, but you don't own it, so you have a copy. And the same thing with physical art. So that just needs to get carried over into this digital space. So and you can buy it using cash, cryptocurrency, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, the opportunity there to raise money for a charity, how did that happen for you as, and you know, even having the consideration for addiction and so forth. So can you help us, you know, was there a reason or just you thought of it or?
Yeah, for sure. So really, in the past couple years, the whole idea of crypto and NFTs have really taken off on the internet. Everyone these days, if you go online, you've seen like memes about NFTs, or like you see people trading NFTs or collecting them. And, we noticed that there was somewhat a gap in the market. Um, with crypto and NFTs, there's so much money. There's, as of July, the crypto economy was worth about 1 trillion USD. But realistically, how much
Wow.
of that, yeah, it's a huge number, right? But how much of that money was going towards social good, nonprofits and charities? The answer is not a lot. Approximately, according to some of the data we looked online, about 0.007% of that was used towards charitable donations. So we noticed a huge gap in this and wanted to figure out a way that we can sort of change this, which is how Fayyr came about. Last year, our CEO and co-founders, spent a lot of time working on this platform, which really brings charitable art auctions to a digital world. And yeah, we spent, the last year and a half developing the platform, and we just launched recently, actually last week. So the platform is now officially open. And it basically provides a space where artists can come and upload their artwork and support a charity or nonprofit organization that they're passionate about. And yeah, there's a minimum of 50% donations. So a minimum of half of every art sold will go towards a charity or a nonprofit that the artist is passionate about and wants to support.
Oh, that's cool. So the artist has complete, say as to where their money's going. Obviously, they're committing to a percentage going to charity, which is a great incentive.
Yep.
To design. So is there some sort of process of like, can anybody just build any type of art and go on there, or is there a screening? Like, is there some sort of legitimacy of your type of art that
Yeah.
you'll bring into the company?
Yeah, for sure. So right now we there is somewhat of a screening. You have to fill out a form if you're an artist to, apply, and we would like to see some of your art before you come onto the platform, because we do want to keep this, we're working with charities and nonprofits, and a lot of these companies don't necessarily want certain art to represent their company on behalf of them. So there is somewhat of a screening process on our end. We do a lot of due diligence, the artists and the nonprofits, to ensure that, it's a good environment for everyone to work with, and the money is being actually used for a good cause and social impact. So there is somewhat of a screening process. Yep. And on the charity side, if they want us to sort of handle everything on their end, like their wallets, they want us to handle the approvals and stuff, they can provide us with a list of, hey, we don't want to see anything involving these animals or whatever it may be, and we'll take that into consideration and only approve art that, they're comfortable with.
Excellent. I mean, that's great. And our second guest, Alex, coming on the end of the show, talking about his personal story, has some art in Fayyr that's up for charitable donations, and I mean, I suspect that he's an artist, and there's, you would go on there and go, wow, like this is amazing stuff. Like, just for the sake of more understanding into this, you're not just an artist that draws something on a piece of paper and scans it into the computer. I mean, this is art built through a computer, correct? And
Yeah.
if not, what's the difference there?
For sure. So it can be anything. So we actually have a lot of different art using a lot of different mediums that we have currently or have seen on the platform. So you can create something on Illustrator, on Photoshop, and upload it. Or we actually have a lot of artists who make physical arts, and they digitally scan and recreate it on their computer or they just scan it and upload it as an NFT itself. So this can be any art whatsoever. It doesn't have to be.
I'm just going to share your website just so people can get a view of it. So
Yeah,
Darren,
for sure.
keep going, but this is some of the art that's on there. So all this artwork, if you buy its portion, oh, there's last door right there. We'll click on that in a second. So this is another last door. So this goes
Wow.
to charities. If you visit, some really nice stuff here.
Yeah.
How many charities do you have on here? Do you know?
I don't know the exact number, but we have partner and non-partner charities. So I believe partnered, we have about 15 to 20. But if there is a nonprofit or charity that an artist wants to support, they can put a request in for us, and we'll add them as a non-partner and try to get them as a partner charity, because there's obviously some benefits that come with partnering with us. But yeah, we're open to any charity as long as we do a little bit of due diligence on our end. They're an actual charity, that they have a registration number, etc. But yeah, we're open to putting any charity on our
This is
website.
fantastic. Look at this.
This
Look
is
at all the
cool.
art that's up there
Wow.
already. So if you're a charity, I mean, this is just a last door thing. By all means, if you're a charity, you think you could want to be part of this, we'll get you connected as well. So this is
So,
really nice.
Yeah.
Samir,
Yes.
I'm just thinking of like incentivizing, somebody listening right now that like always donates, writes a check or drops cash off at the charity, or like how do you convince somebody that maybe is a little apprehensive or just completely ignorant to the whole computer aspect and of this, like what are some incentives for someone? Are people doing this to hold on to, like, as an investment? You know what I mean? Is that the only person that's going to look into this? Or what if I'm just a person that likes to buy art and put it on my wall and see it as I walk by every day? How do you speak to that?
Yeah, for sure. So, the way we see the platform and a way to incentivize people, a lot of people like to donate to nonprofits and charity. They like to give back. They like to, support causes that they're passionate about. And the way we see things is that, we're still catering to those people who want to donate. But while you're donating, you can also get a cool piece of art on the side. It's kind of like a win-win situation for everybody involved. You support the artist, you support the charity they want to support, you support a charity you're passionate about. So you get to donate money towards that cause, as well as getting a cool piece of art on the side, that you actually own.
And it's
Totally.
something new. You can go to the dinner table at the fancy restaurant, be like, you know what I did today? I just, bought an NFT, and they'll be like, oh,
Mhm.
what's an NFT? And you can explain it. So I went to go buy, and it says, create a near wallet. So what's a near wallet? And I just wanted to ask you that before Alex comes on as well, because there was just a conference in Portugal that launched all this. So can you give us, our listeners, an idea, first of all, what's a near wallet?
Yep, for sure. So, we've discussed blockchains before, and there's a bunch of different blockchains in crypto. A lot of people have heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are the two big ones that are most widely known. We're actually built on a blockchain called Near. We like to describe it as just different currencies, as we have like USD, Canadian dollar, in the real world. Cryptos have, Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP, whatever it is. We're built on a platform called Near, and we chose Near because it's actually carbon neutral and environmentally sustainable, which is one of the big reasons that we chose to build on Near. And just like how you have a physical wallet where you hold your cash and your credit cards, to own crypto, you actually need a crypto wallet. And to do this, when you sign into the platform, it will redirect you towards the Near website. And the sign-up process is extremely easy. Just to create your crypto wallet, it's just a couple of steps. And you can put your credit card information in and, just convert however much you want into Near, which is the cryptocurrency that we use. And yeah, it'll automatically sign you in, and you can just purchase art right away from the website and donate it, of course.
That's awesome. So I'm just curious, like, Giuseppe, you mentioned, the smart TVs that will display you know, a picture or art or anything you can upload. Like, what are people doing with NFTs? Are there, you know, sort of smart frames now, or is that even a thing? Like, is it just the art that they keep on file in their computer? It they know it's there, but like, is that a different person from you know, from someone who likes to look at that art? And what are technologies doing nowadays for this?
Yeah, for sure. So it's funny you bring that up because I was at the Near conference in Portugal, as Giuseppe mentioned a couple weeks ago, and I actually met somebody there who was doing this thing where they make these NFTs and they put them on these smart cases, but the NFT is not only just the art, but it's also the smart case as well. So it's kind of like a weird merger of physical art and digital art, and it was super
Huh.
cool. But yeah, like for the most part, you could do whatever you want with it. A lot of people use it, you know, as almost bragging rights, saying, "Hey, look at this cool art that I have on social media." You know, you could share it on your socials. You can put it as your profile picture. You can
Okay.
keep it in your files, as you mentioned. And you actually have a digital copy of that. So if you want to, you can print it out and make like a physical canvas off that NFT, which I've
No
actually
kidding.
done. I have a few in my room myself. So yeah,
Sweet.
many
So just
things.
take it down to a frame shop, and if you want it framed, and
Yep,
put it
exactly.
up on
They
your.
can print it
Oh,
out.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's amazing.
I
So it
mean,
is.
it's yours. Yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. Yeah, those are the main things that we've seen people actually doing with the NFTs. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So near right now, I'm just on the internet looking. So it's got a value of each coin is worth
Yes.
$4.10. So this is basically just like I'm totally not educated in Bitcoin or anything. So this is, you know, the future of currency. So hopefully one day like this might be worth $60
Yeah.
US per coin and stuff. So how long has Near been around and so forth?
Yeah, so Near is not been around as long as Bitcoin, but it's been around for about 3 years now. And yeah, you know, it's crypto in general is in the very early stages. So going back to what we were previously talking about, it is technically an investment, you know. The prices of these cryptos do have a lot of potential, especially as the technologies emerge to grow into something big, just as, Microsoft once was worth like $5 and now it's whatever it is, it's definitely more than $5. But yeah, like as technologies emerge and, these people are more aware of crypto and NFTs, it'll obviously expand and grow into something amazing.
Well, I don't know, Darren. Maybe we should buy ourselves some Near coins. I mean, Bitcoin's worth 20,000 each coin. I mean, they started off at this level, so
Never know. Yeah,
you never
exactly.
know. So and your value of your art increases because the value is in Near. So if you buy that art today, you never know what it could be worth. That's really it's an
Exactly.
interesting concept and so forth. So that's amazing, and so last artist was approached. We started doing Bitcoin donations a long time ago. We were one of the first charities in Canada actually to accept Bitcoins. We're really good at forecasting the future and so forth. And there was an opportunity, obviously would do a shout out to Matt Kay, who works alongside us here, and he really inspired us to want to make the move into going to NFT and supporting addiction treatment and really getting ourselves into a situation where we could be creative like this. As you saw earlier, if you've been watching the show, we showed our store on Fayyr's website, and you can go there and you can buy art, not just from us. How many paintings and like, what's your goal here? Are you actively recruiting new artists and stuff? And
Yeah, we're always actively recruiting new artists and new nonprofits and charities to support on there. We want to support as many causes as we can and really get money into these social impact causes. As I mentioned before, again, there's so much money in crypto, in NFTs right now, and we really want to see a lot more of that money being used towards something that can help other people or people that actually need, the funding or resources to help them out. So as many artists or nonprofits as we can get to support, the better for us. There's no goal right now.
Well, I mean, I love the incentive here. Like, just even thinking for myself, like, I mean, I like to donate. I have specific charities I want to donate to. But what a great way, to look a little bit further into this domain that's, always been a little intimidating, I can say, for me. And yeah, get, like you say, get something back, have something, whether it makes money or not. I still donated the way I always donated anyways. So now I have this potential investment. If not, just a nice piece of art that I could print out and put on my
Exactly.
wall.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think this
Yeah.
is fantastic.
It's definitely interesting, and we always love to have the Samir is an expert in NFT, but we also like to bring in conversations with the people that are affected by this and so forth. And we're welcoming to the show Alex. Hey, Alex.
Hi guys.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see
Hey,
you,
Alex.
Alex. Welcome to the
You.
show. This Samir has been with us for the past half hour, talking to us about what NFTs are, and I like to say the dummy's guide to NFTs and cryptocurrency, because I'm completely clueless. But I think I might be buying some Near coins after this call. So Alex, we really appreciate. Alex is also a coworker of ours and a colleague of ours as well. Has a personal story of addiction recovery. He's also an amazing artist. And right now you're at your shop right now, Alex. Tell us a bit more of where you're at and how has art benefited you in your journey to recovery?
Yeah, so thanks for having me, first of all. And art has been a part of my life since my infancy. Growing up in Mexico, a lot of I was born in Northeast Mexico, and a lot of my relatives on my mom's side, who is where I live near, are artists in Mexico, sculptors, carvers, painters. And so I grew up with a lot of influence of using art as an outlet, as a way to express oneself. And I started painting and drawing as soon as I could hold a pencil or a brush. And it's something that, unfortunately, due to delving into addiction in my teen years, I put to the side, though I still was expressing myself artistically in my adolescence, even though it was in a less lawful way with graffiti and artistic vandalism, I guess, is a nicer way to put it. By the time I ended up getting clean and staying clean, I used to doodle a lot in my journals and my step work and stuff like that. And a lot of my peers would ask me to use that as instead of a hobby, it like delve back into the passion of art. So in the earlier years of my recovery, I've been clean for 10 years and 9 months. I got clean in January of 2012. And because addiction really depletes your sense of purpose and motivation, and a lot of us have an inner dialogue that holds you back from trying new ventures, holds you back from feeling that you have talent and skills. It's quite a risk for a person that has low self-esteem due to like a really crappy lifestyle. So I had to really challenge myself and listen to my friends that were pushing me to get back into art, because I honestly thought like I'd wasted too much time. I'd been too disconnected from it. So my friends hadn't led me astray in the whole first couple of years I was clean. So I listened to them, and I bought art supplies, and I started painting again. And initially I was just painting a lot of characters. Like people would eventually say, draw this character for me from like Star Wars or from Disney or from like Marvel Comics or whatever it was. And I would find references and then paint them. And I reconnected my heart really to the therapeutic aspect of art. And in the last 4 years, I've expanded my my art into tattooing. And I've like right now I'm sitting in a licensed and registered tattoo studio that I own in New Westminster. And I've had this coming up on a year. I tattooed in a different studio for a little while, and I still do commission art canvases for people that ask me for them. I mean, my partner that I tattoo with, he does like art for the LGBT community and like queer festivals in Vancouver. As you can see, that's quite graphic. It's meant to disturb the comfort people. But yeah, and like behind me, I have a painting from one of my cousins in Mexico. There's another one. He has galleries all over Mexico, and his art's hanging all over the world too. So, in the last year, just to tie in the other guest, I was presented with this new phenomenon of digital art. So I've been doing digital art for 2.5 years because I digitally prepare my designs for tattooing. It's the modern way to do it. A lot of traditional tattoo artists still feel that you should draw everything by hand with a pencil, and you shouldn't have any sort of digital assistance and stuff like that. Like with any other creative field, you have the pioneers of the field feeling that you should struggle as they did. I went uphill in the snow both ways, and I had to struggle, so you should have struggle. But a lot of the more modern artists have switched to digital creation. So I've been designing my tattoos digitally for a little while, and a friend of mine said you should start making NFTs. So I didn't really understand what they were, and I had to have them explained to me, as I'm guessing it was explained earlier on the show to you guys and to the listeners. And I was quite taken aback by how cool the concept was to have something essentially minted that had permanent ownership of the person holding the original version of it. So just to kind of test the waters, I guess you could say, I created a couple of NFTs, or minted as the language is in the world of NFTs, and put them on a different platform called OpenSea, and just to see if anyone would have interest in them or whatnot. And it was pretty surprising, people messaging me about them and whatnot. So in the last few months, with the help of my friend and colleague Matt Kay, I've minted a few NFTs with Nair and with the Near digital currency as well. So I'm not sure where it's going. Like, I got good hope for it. I've in my whole time being in recovery, I've always believed in giving back and being a part of other people's recovery, and having a level of charity, because there's been piles of charity bestowed onto me with people's time, people's resources, public funds and things like that have helped me stand where I am today. So I think it's really cool that that's something that's happening in today's day and age, kind of like merging the worlds of being charitable and having a level of service to something that's an important resource with the world of digital art. And then, my already existing experience with digital art making.
Yeah, it's such a cool concept, and for artists that have all of different mediums. Like, I know you make jewelry, like you said, you do painting, tattoo work. I mean, the fact that you can sort of like use all of those different creative mediums and turn it into something digital as well, where it's not just something you have to do digitally and come up with something original. Like, you can use something that you've painted on a canvas, correct? And I wonder, like, in the art world, there's the artist that makes an original, and maybe Samir can talk to this too. An artist makes an original painting, right? And then I buy prints of that, from a store and whatnot. Like, how is that similar, or does the NFT world just completely take that away? Like, there's no such thing. You sell your digital art, that means it's not yours anymore, it's that person's, correct?
Yeah, so when you, like Alex was saying, when you mint a piece of art, it basically means it's stored on the blockchain itself. So you can actually mint more than one edition. You can mint 1,000 of the same if you wish. And once it's minted, obviously there's 1,000 on the blockchain now. You can keep one for yourself and you can sell the other 999, but it's the same thing as making the print. You know, you made that art, you have the actual digital file on your computer, but everything that's minted on the blockchain can be sold. You can keep all 1,000 for yourself. You can do whatever you please with it.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Hey,
and now
Alex.
Alex, go ahead, Darren.
Well, I just wanted to ask, like, you know, you talked about getting clean and you know what you had created or your creativity as a young person, you know, was sort of set aside. And I've heard, you know, a lot of people speak when they get clean, there's sort of a, not that they lack their creativity, but there's a lack of confidence in creating and insecurities. And can you speak to that? Like, did you have to go through a process of not creating for a little while to build, you know, security and to practice on your own before the worries of somebody looking at something you made and being like, that's not that great, you know? And like, what was that process for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I still feel a little insecure to call myself an artist, even though I am. A lot of people, and it's not just people in recovery, like just people in general, from having like extensive research into like the way a social being operates in the Western world through university and through other research projects and stuff. Like a lot of people have insecurity and wavering self-worth. So to venture into an activity or a passion that has been idle or that has never been ventured into before is going to have a lot of self-doubt with it. So it's going to take risk, and there's going to be an internal narrative that has you want to not try. And it really sucks for a lot of people, because I've met people, like, for example, I've never played instruments. I've always wished I had taken time to learn how to play guitar. In the region of Mexico where I'm from, the accordion is really big and a lot of folk music. And I always wished I would have tried, but there's a part that causes reluctance and keeps me in a bit of a cowardly state. Now, with recovery added into the mix, I have at my disposal the resources of inspiration, the resources of accountability, resources of mentorship as well. Because as with any other person, when I want to learn something that I find interesting, or when I want to revisit something that I was once interested in before, I'm going to be impatient and clumsy and prideful. And I want to get to the cool part. I want to get to the part that I can show off and create content with and feel really proud of. Now, that level of performance is after a great length of trial and error process, exploring skills, everything else. So like the usual comparison I give is like with martial arts. Like I want to get to the place where I'm doing like spinning kicks and knocking bottles off of refrigerators. I don't want to learn posture and breathing and stances. Like that stuff's that's
You supposed to be badass.
Yeah, I want to be badass. So when I started reconnecting with art, and more specifically with tattooing, when I started wanting to learn tattooing, one of the several mentors I had was very much like Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid. He's like, you're not going to tattoo anybody. You're going to go trace the lines on that graph paper. And I'm like, the whole thing? And he's like, no, the whole book. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm going to go get somebody else to help me. Like, I want to do some sweet shit and post it online. Like, I don't want to trace lines, but that's the sort of process. And to get fixated on results instead of process can really hold a person back from trying in the first place. Because when I show people my art, whether it's a canvas or a tattoo gun or a piece of jewelry, that people will be like, oh, I wish I could do that. Or I wish I made time. And I'm like, you can't. Like, I think art is, and I don't even want to give it numbers, but I think it's part talent, but also it's part sacrifice, dedication, and the modesty to seek mentorship. because that's a huge.
Are you just talking about art, or are you talking about life and recovery in general? Because you
Well,
can totally take what you just said and really like that is, you
I was
know,
thinking the same thing.
we started off this show earlier with some sad news about that individual that got hit by a car standing in the middle of the road. Like this isn't about drug use and about substance use and drinking a cocktail. Like addiction recovery is like there's an like you had to stop being an artist not because you use drugs. It was this entire encompassing world of addiction that like you weren't able to. You ended up being like that guy that's standing in the middle of the road. It's not just the drug use, it's the entire lifestyle that goes on with addiction, which is, you know, killing people and is seriously harmful. So the idea, like society is so stuck on the results of an intervention. Like, are you going to be okay today? Okay, no, that doesn't work. It's like we need to take a look at the process in life and being mentored. And like you didn't become like you just said, like you weren't ready to do NFTs like at 30 days clean. Like it's taken a while, you know, to get where you're at today. And you know, applause to you and all the work that you've done to get to a place where, you know, an organization like Last Door, you know, that where you work as well, but you know, wants to have your art representative of a charity. I mean, there's just so much value in what you're doing, Samir, and helping individuals, because this also brings the conversation of mental health and addiction to the world of cryptocurrency, to the people that are buying mirrors, you know, that went to this conference. It was called NearCon.
NearCon, that's
That went
correct.
to NearCon. I don't think addiction and mental health was the topic on the panels of any of the presentations going on, but you launched this platform there. So anytime you can talk about addiction, mental health, hopefully will spur this conversation about like, you know, it's okay to ask for help. And the more places we can talk about addiction and mental health issues, the better it is for everybody. And by doing this, you're doing that, Samir. You're adding the conversation to all the different spheres out there. So we appreciate that. And so now, Alex, now that you're, you know, you got some digital currency and all that kind of stuff, you know, being you know, in the world of recovery, we get addicted fast to things, you know, and in cryptocurrency, you know, there's a whole world in the recovery community where it's almost like, you know, watching the charts, you know, go up and down, or what the value is of crypto. Do you find yourself looking at what the value of near is today? And like how, what are some of the things we can do for our listeners that are in recovery that, you know, get addicted to new things pretty quickly?
Obviously, or well, I don't want to say obviously because I didn't heed this next piece of advice initially. Yeah, like we can get fixated on things quite quickly. We can get obsessed. We suffer as humans, let alone humans in recovery, from the fear of missing out. Like, oh, I missed the train. Like, where's the next stop? Where can I run to the next station and hop on this new wave of whether it's NFTs or cryptocurrency or whatever kind of trading there is. So I think to do some research and to find out information before being impulsive is really important. I mean, you can talk to my savings account about that with the most recent pre-recession vibes that we're getting right now with inflation and everything else. But other than that, is just to have curiosity about the world continually evolving economically, socially, and in every regard. Because I mean, I'm 45 years old, and I'm a guy that didn't put Apple Pay on my phone, even though I've had an Apple phone for 12 years. I didn't put it on until like 6 months ago, because I still had that antiquated notion of like, oh, I don't want my information out there. So there's a lot of people that have hesitancy based on old ways of doing things to connect with digital art and digital currencies and blockchains and everything else that's been discussed. So to realize that it's a valid, legitimate form of currency, and that it's a direction that the world is headed in, is really important to notice. Instead of just staying stuck with my fixed ideas, it's good to pull one's head out of the sand and realize that it's not necessarily gonna dethrone the current way of exchanging goods and services, but it's definitely cementing itself as an alternative that's going to gain more and more momentum as time goes on. So I don't obsessively check the benchmark is like Bitcoin and Ethereum and the way they go, most other cryptocurrencies go. So I don't obsessively check that every 15 minutes like I did in the springtime. I realize that there's going to be ups and downs, though with a currency as innovative as Near, having a connection to something that a lot of people in the world do, which is give to charity. I think it's valid for me to say that people should definitely check it out and, consider, instead of just sending money to whatever charity they do during Christmas with the holiday season coming up in a couple months, to do something that you're going to visibly see the impact of, I think has more, it has more of a profound effect on a person that has the privilege to be able to give to charity than to just put something in a box at a Starbucks, or put something on a checkout during a digital purchase somewhere. I think it's cooler to be able to actually see the impact of your donation through art and through the wellness of the charities that are at the other end of that art piece, right?
I'm starting to get the feelings that it might be a neat Christmas present. Donate to a charity, buy an NFT, give it as a gift, and then you never know. It could be like better than a plant. It can grow a lot more. I usually give plants out to some key people I buy Christmas presents to. Here's something that can grow in your window or in your laptop or whatever. Samir, question for you. So you just heard Alex go, not too often do you have the donor or the organizing charity, because I'm sure your team had a boardroom table conversation, whether it was virtual or in person, about this idea, and we'll get charities involved and we'll help people. And so you now are at the end of that conversation, or still at the beginning of it, where you actually see the charity and an artist who's like actually talking your talk now. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it feels fantastic. I was the last person to actually join Fayyr, so I've been here for about 8, 9 months now, and the rest of the team have worked tirelessly in their spare time. They have jobs, they're in school, and they're doing this as a passion project because they want to make the world a better place. So they've been working on this for about a year and a half now. And like I mentioned, we just launched at NearCon in Portugal, the festival, the convention that we were at. We just launched about a week ago. And it's been fantastic, like seeing everyone's hard work and dedication paid off. We're still a small team, and there's a lot of development and marketing and everything to really get going on the platform. But we're really just saying, like, hey, like, we did it, we're launched. We can actually start seeing a difference in the world. We can start selling some art for charities and nonprofits and really making a difference. It feels fantastic. And as you were saying about Christmas, we do have in our development plan where you can like and gift NFTs to people very soon, which hopefully will be up before Christmas. So not a bad idea to give somebody a cool piece of art digitally, and support a cause that they're passionate about too.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, great. So the website is, how do people do it again? How do they log in? Where do they go?
Yeah, for sure. So you can go to www.fayyr, that's FAYYR.com. You can see all of the art on there. And on the top right, there's a button just to sign in. And all you have to do is connect your Near wallet. And I presume, a lot of people listening do not have a Near wallet, but the steps are very simple. It'll direct you through the entire process, which takes about 5 minutes max. You just link your credit card and you can purchase art directly from the website and support Last Door or support any other organizations on there. There's a lot of cool art, especially for Last Door as well. And I gave a talk actually in Portugal for NearCon, and I gave a huge shout out to Last Door as well for all the fantastic things that you guys do. And
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
Anybody like myself who's been waiting for, like I said, the incentive or a reason or a motivation to take the risk and do the research into cryptocurrency and digital wallets and digital art. I mean, I'm completely inspired. I mean, I love the fact that it's not, I'm just not going to put money in that I could lose or gain for my own personal self, right? Like I'm not just trading on a stock here. I'm donating, whether I win or lose or, you know, gain a bunch more money. Like I'm donating and I'm receiving something that I have that's mine. I have no more excuses to not go in and start this. And, you know, yeah, like support an artist and a charity at the same time. Like this is fantastic. I'm sold.
Here's
Yeah.
Alex's art online as well. Some pieces that are available. And Alex, your tattoo shop, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's your Instagram, Facebook?
My Instagram is Lejos Tattoos, Lejos Tattoos all together. And my shop is here on Columbia in our beautiful town of New Westminster. Just shoot me a message there or for any other art inquiries.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. You're listening to Talk Recovery Radio, powered by New West Recovery, made up of Last Door and Westminster House. Retweet us, follow us, share, subscribe on our YouTube. Catch us on all the past shows at talkrecoveryradio.com. Thanks for joining us, Samir. Looking forward. Let us know when the Christmas gift is available, and we'll do a retweet about that. So send us an email or let Matt know. Special shout out to Matt for getting us involved in all of this and inspiring us to keep moving forward, to be innovative. Alex, see you back at the office. Okay, take care.
everybody.
Bye, Darren. See you next
Thanks for
week.
having us.
Okay, bye-bye. Take care, everybody.